So we're starting 2.5, equations of lines. So the first page of this document is just a summary of something. So if you forget something, you just look at this page and it will help you remember. So we have three different equations. We have the point-slope form, the slope-intercept form, and standard form. Okay. When do we use this one? We use it when we want to make an equation and we know the slope and we know 1 point. Okay, and we can put the information in here and we can get the equation. Or we know 2 points. Okay, because if we have 2 points, we can find the slope and then put it in here. The slope-intercept form I like. That's supposed to be a happy face. Because when you look at it, you can just go, oh, I see the slope. Oh, I see the y-intercept, and then you can graph it super easy, okay? Standard form, I don't really like it as much because it's usually a little bit more work. You don't need to know this. I just put that in for fun. Well, it's not fun, but you know, just if you wanted to know some more information. However, if I want to graph, if I have this form and I have to graph it, I'm going to use the x and y intercepts to graph it. What's the x and y intercepts? It's when you go let x equals 0 and you solve for y, and then you go let y equals 0 and you solve for x, and then you get 2 points, and then you can graph it with the 2 points. So it's super easy to graph when you use the xy intercept method. Okay, and then I just put two extra equations down here. If you forget what a horizontal line looks like, it's always going to be y equals some number, or if it's a function, it's going to be f of x equals a number. And remember, the slope for a horizontal line, there's going to be a 0 on the top, a number on the bottom, and it's going to be equal to 0. Now, a vertical line, it's always going to be x equals some number. And remember, the slope on the bottom is going to be 0, or the number on the bottom for the slope is going to be 0, which makes it undefined. Okay? And I put some other information down here that you can look at. So, we're first going to look at the point-slope form of an equation. Okay? So if I'm given a point, a specific point, and I have the slope, I can put this point into the equation and solve it. Okay, so if I have my point called x1, y1, I'm going to put this value here and the x value here. So some people get confused. You go y minus whatever the value is from the point, x minus the value from this point. So if you forget where the point goes, it's always second. Okay, all right, let's look some examples. So if you're given a point and a slope, it says write an equation of the line that goes through this point and has this slope. Okay, so we have the point and we have the slope. We call that x1, y1. We write out our formula. We put y1 here, x1 here, and we can solve it for y, and then it goes into the slope-intercept form, and I can say, that's my slope, and that's my y-intercept. Okay, so I can do it that way. Here it says write an equation of the line through the 2 points, and then write it in standard form. Well, that's not standard form. That's slope-intercept form. So here it says please write it in standard form. Well, I don't have my slope. So first you have to find your slope. You take your 2 points and you go this minus this for the top, this minus this for the bottom. Now you have your slope. And then you're going to choose one of the points. It doesn't matter which point you choose. It's just going to be one of them. And you choose the one that looks easier for you. It doesn't matter. So then you choose a point. And you go, okay, I have my slope and my point. And then you just substitute your point in. And you put your slope in. Okay, now remember when it says it has to be in standard form at the end, you're going to move everything around. So the x term comes first, the y term comes after, and then the constant term, the number, just the number, is on the other side by itself. Okay, So let's do some examples together. Let's turn the page. Now we're on page 3. So page 3, it says write an equation of the line that goes through this point and has this slope. Okay, so this is my point xy. I'm going to write out the point slope form. So that's y minus y equals, m, x minus x. Now I put a little 1 on these ones. Okay, now I have to substitute things in. So my slope is going to go here. And now I keep this x, and this is where I put my x value. So that I put my minus 4 here. Be careful, that's subtract a minus 4, and that's my y minus 2. And now there's different ways to do this. It just says, it doesn't say it has to be in the slope-intercept form, and it doesn't say it has to be in standard form, so you can put it any way you want, okay? So if I want to get rid of the fraction, I could multiply this out, or I could get rid of the fraction. So I think I might just multiply it out. It doesn't matter which way you do it. So I'm going to multiply this out like that, and I will get 2 over 3x. That becomes a plus. 2 times 4 is 8 over 3. So all I did is, you can use your calculator, 2 times 3 times 4. I put that in my calculator, this times this, and I get that. Now I have y minus 2. So let's put it in slope y-intercept form, like this. So we want the y alone. So that means I have to get rid of this 2 here. Let's go plus 2, plus 2. So now I have y equals, this is my term with the x, so it's going to go first. See, it goes first. And then I have to do this, but let's do it on my calculator. So I go 8 over 3 plus 2. So that's plus 14 over 3. There. So now I have an equation. And if I graph it, this point will be on the line. And it has this slope. See, there's the slope. Okay, let's do another one. Write an equation of a line that goes through this point and has slope of 3. So now pause the video, you try and do this, and then check to see if you're correct, okay? So pause it now before I start. Pause the video. Oops. I want to get my y by itself, so I'm going to add the 5 to both sides. There. So now you can see my slope is negative 3. Here it is here. Okay. And I have an equation that if I graphed it, it will go through this point, and it has a slope of negative 3. Okay, let's look at a different type of question. So it says, write an equation of a line that goes through both of these points, and then make sure it's in standard form at the end. Okay? So I don't have the slope. I need the slope. So my first step is I need to find my slope. Slope is m, and I subtract my y's on the top, and then I subtract my x's on the bottom. But I always do 0.2 first, and then 0.1 after. So 2 minus my negative 7, 1 minus 4. That becomes a plus, so that's 9 over negative 3, which equals negative 3. So if I put this in my calculator, it simplifies to negative 3. So now I have my slope. And now I have to choose one of the points. I'm going to choose the one that looks easier for me. This one looks easier because it doesn't have any negatives and the numbers are small. But you could choose this one if you wanted. So I'm going to choose this point, and I know my slope is -3. Now I want to make my equation. Make equation. So I need to write out the point form equation, which is y minus y equals m times x minus x. But there's little ones there. So that's xy. So my slope is -3. This comes from here, so that's a 1. And y1 is this 2. So the second letter, x and y, always comes from up here. Okay? So now I have to distribute the 3. So I have y minus 2 equals -3x plus 3. But be careful, it says it must be in standard form. And standard form is when you have the x and the y term on one side and the number on the other one. So this one needs to be moved over because this has to be over here, plus 3x. So now that's gone. But now what do you write first? Standard form says you have to write the x first. So I'm going to write 3x, and I'm going to put my y after, but there's no sign in front of the y, no plus or minus. So if there's no sign here, you just use a plus because the plus can hide. So now it's almost in standard form. You put your x and y terms together, and then this constant term, the number, has to go to the other side. So now I have 3x plus y equals 5. So that's the equation of a line that goes through these 2 points, and it's in standard form. Okay? Now, I want you to do this question. So pause the video, try it on your own, and then play it when you're done to see if you have it correct. Okay? So pause it now. So 1, so I have to find my slope. So it says, write an equation of a line through the 2 points. They don't give me the slope, so I have to find my slope. So I subtract my y's on the top and the x is on the bottom, but I'll do 0.2 first and then 0.1. So 4 minus 6, 8 minus -4. So that's -2 on the top. That becomes a plus, so it's 12. There. So my slope is -1/6. Now I'm going to choose a point. Which point do you want to choose? This doesn't have negatives, so I'm going to choose the one that doesn't have negatives. But you could choose this one, it doesn't matter. And my slope is -1/6. Now I need to make the equation. So I'm going to write out the point slope form. And I have to say these values come from this point. That's x1, y1. So my slope is -1/6. That stays in x. I take the x value from here. That stays y. And then I take the y value from here. Oops, my pencil shot across the room. Okay. Now, I'm going to distribute this out. Just a second.